I sort of understand where you're coming from. I understand that, and actually, even on the most basic level, it's about talking those concerns through and being responsible.
Being their champion.
Yeah, and being their champion. Yeah, exactly. Just towing the company line. It's about like being their champion and supporting them as we all move forward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smithfield Smackdown podcast. Smithfield Search is an executive search business for leaders in tech, creative agency and investor-backed businesses today. But through thoughtful conversations with founders and creative leads, investors and executives, we dig into the important questions around leadership, culture, hiring and innovation, always with a focus on understanding the issues and finding practical solutions. So today we're going to have some honest dialogue with one of my favourite people, Joe Macleod. Smithfield Smackdown offers insights and perspectives, hopefully to inspire positive change and smarter leadership decisions. So welcome to the podcast, Joe. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me along, Bea.
Very, very excited to talk to you. When did we first meet? Can you remember?
Oh my goodness, quite a long time ago.
Maybe 10, 15, at least 20
years ago, 15 years ago. Let's say 15.
Let's say 15.
Longer.
Okay. Well, this sounds like a good time for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a designer, I guess, broadly in that description. I've spent many years in product development. I've worked in physical products, service products. I've worked for big companies, small companies, working for shipping things in multi-hundreds of millions all around the world, and then doing small stuff for small groups. So I've done all sorts of design projects. I've run big teams, small teams, and had lots of different experiences. So I've been around the block a few times, I'd say.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about that? I would love to know a bit more about your journey into leadership.
Sure. So I graduated from the Royal College of Art doing a course called it was actually called computer related design, but it's essentially interaction design. There just wasn't a word for it at the time. And I came out of there really inspired, and we were doing electronics and really crazy stuff and into the sort of .com boom. And that was super exciting. Went and worked for a company called Oyster Partners, which is one of the first sort of digital agencies.
That's where we met.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Yes, maybe. And then that was, we were doing basically websites, and it was crazy because everyone was so young there and no one had any business experience. And we were making so much money making, I don't know if you remember them, portals where we imagined the user, absolutely terrible user cases. The user would turn up to a website, a front end of a website called a portal, and they'd look at the weather, and then they'd look at their stocks and shares, and they might look at some sports news. And it was just like this moronic user case, which was very, very vague, I think.
Like an intranet for us.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. And I remember we'd done it for BA, Sainsbury's, and I don't think anyone used them at all, but we made a lot of money out of it. And then we didn't really have a long game plan in a business sense. We were so quite ignorant in terms of supporting your customer. The .com crash happened. I was actually always interested in mobile, so then I skipped over and started to work for Orange on and off, and doing lots of different things for them, doing sort of scenario building, service design, innovation team. And then I moved over to sort of more service design companies. I ended up at Nokia. I spent many years at Nokia through their great, that was a company making incredible amounts of money. We had half the world's mobile phones as phone customers on Earth.
Wow.
Making many, millions of devices all around the world. And when you get to those sort of numbers, it's, I do all sorts of things, end up doing wallpapers and then bits of packaging and things. There'd be, crazy numbers. Eventually, though, that sort of waned a bit. Nokia was getting hit by I don't know if you remember that Motorola Razor. That was quite a competitor that hit us for a long time. And then we'd done this amazing bit of work, which was way back then, mobile phone companies would sell to carriers. So that would be like Vodafone or Orange or something like that. We didn't really know the customers. He'd done this piece of work, which was a very much more focused on who do we sell to. And then we reorganized the business around it. And I think that was an incredible business case of how you turn your business around based on user-centric sort of demographics. And then I eventually left Nokia and moved to a company called Us2. We were very early to doing apps, and then we became this incredible machine, one of the best agencies in the UK to do apps. We were making more money than any agencies. And
can I just say, Us2, there was a point where everybody wanted to work for Us2. Every single designer would come in and want to be at Us2.
That's very true at the end. It was behind the scenes at the beginning. It wasn't that case so much. I don't think people realised how big apps were going to be. So I was head of design there when I first got there, and trying to build a team then was quite difficult because we didn't really have the sort of celebrity status that we did in the later years. So we'd get all these people in. We weren't great payers in terms of salary position. And people wanted to go off and work for IDOs and other sort of big houses, and we were under the radar. But as we grew and we became cooler, and we were in the press for doing, well, lots of different apps, but Monument Valley was a big deal for us. But we were also doing there was a lot of sort of political stuff at the time. So we were in many of the big magazines, whether it be for a campaign we were running about design, Monument Valley, or the wild stuff we done sort of like just as an industry. So then it was a really cool place to be. Lots of people wanted to be. And
it was very experimental, wasn't it? That's what I remember, that you had time to kind of explore your own thing there.
Yeah, so we had some really good clients in companies like Barclays, JP Morgan, and then we had some other companies like North Face Vans. Yeah, in the other times we had, managing an agency, obviously, I heard many of your listeners will understand, like, you've got a lot of people on the bench sometimes. So we had to build up sort of innovation projects and understanding how do we not only use these things as an opportunity to innovate and inspire our staff to step out of their sort of comfort zone into sort of far more challenging areas. And it was a really exciting time because such a lot of stuff was changing.
Do you remember that app you sent me called Rando?
Yeah, like Rando was a really great experiment, a good example of what we used to do in our downtime. Rando was based on the idea of message in a bottle. So you would just receive something like a message and you didn't know where it was from. And it was sort of really poetic in that sense. And it was a great experience. One of the really interesting things about it is that we never asked anyone for a membership base because we never presented anyone's identity. All it was a photograph and a geotag on that, and then it would go to someone else. You wouldn't know who it goes to, and they didn't know who you were. You didn't know who they were. And it was the best because you got things from all around the world of people playing a guitar in Costa Rica, or somebody surfing in Australia, or somebody doing this. And it was super beautiful and poetic. And it was one of those really nice moments where sort of social media, I think back in those days, we didn't have the wild problems that we have now with it. There was something poetic and beautiful and very human about it.
I loved it. It was my party trick for some time.
It was really good. And the end of it was awful though, because people started to send in dick pics to it.
Of course they did.
And so we ended up having, I think somebody senior in the marketing team would have to because we didn't have the time or the technology to really go through it and identify, is this a dick or not? I mean, when you think about that scene in Silicon Valley where the guy made say, is it hot dog? And then it becomes this dick pic analysis. Yeah, we didn't have that back then. So we had to do it manually. So somebody had to go through all of the submissions, which we were doing really well with Rando. So it got up to hundreds of thousands of people on it. And so somebody was going through all of those manually and then going, yes, that's safe and that's not safe and that's safe and that.
I do remember you telling me about that. I think we met at an event and you were saying this has become a right headache.
Yeah.
Along the way, you've spoken at I've heard you speak at lots of conferences, and you've become a bit of a thought leader. And I think it would be remiss if we didn't talk about your Endings project, and you've written a book. So perhaps you could share a little bit more about that before we go into our Smackdown.
Absolutely. So I left Us2 and I was sort of interested. I was sort of left Us2 for a number of reasons, but mainly it was I want to hang out with my kids more. They were getting to an
Yeah.
age where I wasn't seeing them much. My wife wanted to get back to work. And in the UK, I now live in Sweden and it has a great protection sort of things around like doing that. But in the UK, it's pretty difficult for people to have two jobs, like as a couple. And so she wanted to get back to work, and I wanted to investigate a theme around. Initially, it was closure experiences, but I started to get into it and research it, and I found such a wide amount of information that I didn't think about much when I was in the creative act of creating designs around the experience and witnessing of endings. So I started to dig into this, and it just opened up a whole world for me. So I was super inspired by it. So I thought I'm going to have to probably share this in some sort of more important
Mm.
way. And I started writing a book. I'm really dyslexic, like many designers are. Most dyslexics are
What was
in
that
prison.
experience like for you then?
As a dyslexic,
As a dyslexic, but just writing a book generally, like how
so
did you discipline
I've,
yourself?
I've written obviously, as a leader, you end up writing a lot of emails and proposals and stuff like that. But that's
Mm.
a different type of writing to write in a book. A book's like,
Yeah.
80 to 100,000 words, many chapters. You've got to have a long arc and you've got to
Yeah.
have a different type of discipline.
Yeah.
In my previous jobs, it was about like doing things quickly and achieving many of them. In writing, you've got to be very resourceful in terms of the head down every day to sort of like just keep pushing, keep inquiring, keep writing. And then eventually, after like 2 years, I managed to get a book together, then got it published. That came out, and a lot of people were really interested in it. I ended up doing talks all around the world.
Yeah.
So pretty much done
Yeah.
talks in every region of the world in lots of different places. And then I was doing really well. I think I was in Wired. I'd done TEDx in Stockholm, and
Wow.
then that was November, December 2019. My 2020 looked great. And then about March time, everything shut down. So then I wrote
Yeah.
another book and then started to put all of the training and stuff online, and how, because the theme of endings is about, we are so good at creating onboarding and usage experiences. So that's
Yes.
meaningful, it's emotional, it's personal to the user, it's consumer
Mm.
centric. And these areas are overwhelmed by like inquiry, knowledge, expertise. And we've been doing that for like over 200 years. At the end of the customer life cycle, the whole narrative changes to a cold voice from either science, legislation, or government. And that transition point is a real problem in terms of how we negotiate meaning at the end of the consumer life cycle.
Mm.
And therefore, it becomes really difficult to inspire people to become interested in climate change, to do things about plastic in the seas, because it's a totally different conversation at the end. And so this
Yeah.
narrative structure, humans love stories. So love stories to the point where if we don't have an end which matches to the beginning, then the whole system breaks apart. So yeah, it's a really interesting area, and yeah, I'm very inspired by it. It's good.
Yeah. Love it. And it's still part of your work today, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I still run um I run a teaching program around it. I run an online course for adults, and I run courses for teams and clients. I also do, I run there's been over 900 engineers trained now. So I run a sort of a group for us to do that. And we meet up once every quarter having conversations about that and stuff. And yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So shall we talk about
Yeah.
your provocation? Tell us your smackdown.
So I think that we need a sort of a correction in design leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that comes a bit from what we've gone through over the last 6, maybe even longer years,
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, and what's gone on in in more
Yes.
recent years.
So I think when we were talking, I was sharing with you at the beginning of 2023 that I heard a stat that 1 in 3 design leadership weren't working. There were obviously lots of redundancies happening in the States. And what we started seeing happening over here was lots of design leadership being made redundant and a choice to keep kind of doers and AI in the mix. That was very tempting for businesses to go, well, we can replace some design leadership with
Yeah.
AI. But we feel the pendulum is now swinging back. So talk a bit more about that.
So I think what we've done over the last few years is with the pandemic, a lot of business, especially digital business, has actually done really well over the pandemic once we got our stuff together.
Yeah.
And so that was quite successful. We grew probably a little bit too much and at that point. And then there was quite a big correction when the sort of oil markets and energy markets changed after the Ukraine-Russia war. And I think we overcorrected, ended up cutting costs and then cutting costs in senior management. And then that middle layer of, and trying to get rid of those costs. And as the same time as AI starts to emerge as a solution for doing the work. And so we've ended up in these sort of hollowed out businesses and design teams. And at the same time, I think there's also an aspect where it's sort of been almost devalued a little bit in the sort of the tripod of product design and technology, where people thought like we can save some money by getting rid of this aspect on this side as well. But now I feel like we're really into a point where we've lost this leadership of meaning, and design's always been about like, why are we going here? And that's
Yes.
always been that third leg of the tripod of, it's
Yes.
like, why are we going here?
Particularly now when businesses are not asking you to design something, they're not asking you to design an app or build a website. They're saying, what should we be doing? And
Yeah,
design
and
leadership is really important to have in that room during that conversation.
absolutely. And I think it's also, yeah, that sort of experience of seeing many things going on over these
Yes.
20 years of technology development, and to
Mm.
go back and sort of see different things from the web and see how importantly how technologies have failed as well. I've been at places where everyone was talking about voice, saying like there's not going to be a screen interface in the future. And
Interesting.
insane things like that. And even years ago, I remember people talking like CD-ROMs when I first started doing digital stuff. People talking about CD-ROMs. Libraries are dead. No one's going to read a book anymore. And so we've
Wow.
all had these crazy. And if you're old enough and you've been in this industry long enough, you've seen a lot of this go like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's going to. I was at a event, I think a little while ago, and the theme of the event was the metaverse and sustainability. And I thought that was just the worlds of hype and technology coming together. So I think it does have like loads of potential, and it
Of
has
course.
loads of ability to do things that we
Mm.
are currently doing. But it's also one of those things where when you've been working with it for a while, it's not coming up to the same sort of scratch as having those sort of ability to have that
Yes.
philosophical depth or experience to say, maybe this is the way, not this way.
I feel like all of the conversations I have around AI, always creativity, critical thinking, judgment, experience. And, design leadership is also very much about leading a team,
Yeah.
retaining them, motivating them, keeping them happy. And I fear that as the market gains confidence, without design leadership in that room, people are going to lose their greatest people because they don't have a direction to go towards. We were talking about it earlier. If you can't see it, you can't be it.
No, absolutely. And I think those are the important things. If I think back to some of the biggest conversations I've had with teams, it's about understanding a real particular nuance of concern that they will have. In fact, even as individuals in the team, to understand the nuance of the concerns they have, to answer that question about that nuance. And often, I remember situations in big corporations where I've worked where no one felt comfortable about the direction of senior management, and you have to go in there as their manager and their leader and sort of
Yeah.
say, I sort of understand where you're coming from. I understand that, and actually, even on the most basic level, it's about talking those concerns through and
Yeah.
being
And being their
responsible enough.
champion.
Yeah, and being their champion. Yeah, exactly. Not being just towing the company line. It's about like
Yeah.
being their champion and
Yeah.
supporting them as we all move forward.
I would love to hear a bit more about your proudest moment in leadership as we wrap up. You can share an example or a story.
So when after I left Us2, the design team needed to get together and basically asked, what did Joe do? And to know what they were going to do. I think I don't know if they were going to go to a flat hierarchy or hire someone else, but there was a point where many people in the team got together and were like, what did Joe do? And somebody sent, after they'd done that exercise, obviously I wasn't there, but after they'd done that exercise, someone took a photo of it and sent it to me. And it's the sweetest, most sort of reassuring thing, especially for, if you've been in many sort of leadership jobs, because it showed that all of the effort and the little things that you'd done did make a difference. They did notice that you had done this, or they did notice that you were looking after them or inspiring them, and all of these things
I
about
love that.
it was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a broad church, isn't it? Leadership. It's not just one thing, and it's good to
Yeah.
feel validated.
Yeah, it really is. And it's even those stupid things where you think it's not about doing the paperwork. It is actually even those clicking the boxes, doing the paperwork, approving things, doing those sort of things in time and being responsible for them in a timely manner and reacting to their more emotive things in a voice or understanding when to say, that's enough, or go on, you can do this, or, all of those things also in a timely manner. It's all of the details which get overlooked in a sort of, everyone imagines it's like a John Hamm type role in Mad Men, but really, although that's a nice occasionally to live out on that. And I'm quite happy to do the John Hamm thing, but like, that isn't the day to day. And if you do go into those sort of things, you really come unstuck quite quickly.
Well, without breaking anybody's confidence, I interviewed lots of people from Us2, and you have a glowing report in leadership.
Oh, that's very good. Thanks very much.
And certainly today, I've really appreciated your time. So thank you so much for joining us on the pod. Thanks very much.
Cheers, B. Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Bye.